Welcome to Celestial Insights, a weekly podcast that brings the stars down to earth. I'm your host, astrologer, coach, and intuitive Celeste Brooks. My purpose is to provide practical, unique, and insightful guidance to help you navigate the energies of the week like a boss. Hello, this is Celeste of Astrology by Celeste, and on this episode, I will discuss the astrology for the week of July 5th, 2026. The theme of the week is Dogfight, and there are three big things I think you should think about as you navigate this week. The first thing I want to make you aware of is that Neptune stations retrograde on July 7th at 4 Aries and will back it up to 1 Aries to go direct on December 12th. The station is the most powerful part of the retrograde cycle where a planet appears to slow down and stop in the sky before moving backwards from our perspective on Earth. It's an optical illusion. And at the station, it looks like the planet is standing still. This energy is like a branding iron that leaves a lasting imprint. So if you have any important planets or points in your chart at 4 degrees of Aries or any of the other cardinal signs of Libra, Capricorn, or Cancer, you may feel this energy more personal. This is also a time that could be very creative for artists. So it's a great time to go within and let your creativity surface. Somebody's going to create a work of art. When presenting for Kepler College last year, I called this retrograde cycle like a heat wave. And look what's unfolding around the world. Astrology is in symbolic language, and we now have Jupiter, Neptune, and Saturn all in fire signs. Fire signs expand heat and fires. Saturn builds pressure, and some situations may reach a boiling point, literally and metaphorically. When you cast the chart for Neptune station, Neptune's at 4, the moon is at 10, and Saturn's at 14 Aries, putting the moon between the two outer planets. And the moon represents the public and the people. And the symbolism suggests that people are caught between Neptune's confusion, uncertainty, illusion, and excess water, and Saturn's pressure, restriction, hardship, or endurance. It paints a picture of people being squeezed by circumstances. And with Jupiter now in Leo, we're seeing themes about dangerous heat waves around the world becoming a bigger story. So just be aware with your travels that there's a higher likelihood of there being experiences with heat-related illnesses, wildfires, drought conditions, or strain on infrastructure. In France, the heat has caused excessive deaths. Neptune also rules water, and there's been stories about people drowning. So be very mindful right around this day, 5 days before or after the station, if you are around waters. Be careful of riptides. If you're going boating or something, make sure the person steering the boat is not getting excessively intoxicated. Another interesting thing is that the sun is at 15 Cancer when Neptune stations conjunct the fixed star Sirius, which is the shining one of the scorcher. This is conjunct as well Elon Musk's ascendant, making me wonder if he could again be part of the story during this Neptune station. Last year, there was controversy around Grok, his AI model, and there were some changes that had it generating Nazi talking points. There were also big floods, especially in Texas, where the Camp Mystic, which is a Neptunian word, that flooded and several young girls died. Now, Neptune and Aries may also bring up conversations around military action and the armed services. Recruitment can be a story. Aries has associations with weapons. Neptune itself rules illusion, deception, fraud, propaganda, intoxicants, and situations where things are not what they appear to be. One of the classic manifestations of Neptune is that hidden truths will surface. So you may see stories about swindlers, scammers, and deceptive schemes being exposed, or confusion around military matters somewhere in the world or military issues. We can also learn about more accurate casualty figures or gain a clearer picture on the true human cost of this conflict in Iran or somewhere else around the world. Now remember, retrogrades often coincide with revisions, reversals, delays, conflicts, or the collapse of what once seemed certain. There could be a possible trigger of some of the Mars-Uranus themes on this day, which is explosive, associated with accidents and sudden disruption. So be very mindful of your safety. If you don't have to be in large crowds, I would avoid it. You may see someone having a mental health crisis as well. So just pay attention to what's going on and what you're seeing. But I think the best thing we can do is respect the heat, stay hydrated, and be cautious around water, especially in the bathroom. Be mindful around intoxicants, limit them if possible. And just be extra careful online, double checking things before clicking links. Something may surface to your conscious attention where you have deception revealed, and it just may be you deceiving yourself. One of my greatest pleasures is mentoring astrology enthusiasts and professionals who want to deepen their craft. If you're building your skills or refining your approach, we can work together one-on-one to strengthen your chart interpretation, timing techniques, client readiness, and your confidence in putting it all together. You can schedule a single session or choose a mentoring package for ongoing guidance. Details are at astrologybyceleste.com on the services page. The next thing I want to make you aware of is that we have a last quarter moon on July 8th at 15 Aries. The last quarter moon is a crisis of consciousness, a time to integrate what we've been processing and unfolding since the new moon, and recognize what needs to change before the next cycle begins. Aries is a sign ruled by Mars, which is currently in the sign of Gemini and separating from Uranus. So there is explosive, impulsive energy in the cosmos. The moon is also recently separating from Saturn at 14 degrees of Aries. So separations describe what has already occurred and may be coming into clearer focus. Saturn's associated with duty, sacrifice, hardship, authority, and it could represent the casualties and consequences of a conflict. So with Neptune also stationing retrograde on the same day, we may be learning more about the human cost of war, including casualties or those who've been permanently injured. And rather than something new, to me, this feels like something that has already happened, and we're just getting an understanding about it. And now we have Mercury in Cancer, Neptune in Aries, and Pluto in Aquarius, all retrograde. There is a collective review underway where the tape is being pulled back on old stories so that what was once incomplete can become clearer, and narratives may shift as additional facts come to light. I would also watch for conversations around deception involving military service. Notice if you see stories of stolen valor or misrepresentation, where the appearance does not match the reality. On a personal level, this last quarter moon asks us to examine the Aries part of ourselves. Where have you been courageous versus where have you held yourself back? Aries is the sign of initiative, independence, confidence, and willingness to take action. It's a pioneering sign. Are you advocating for yourself and taking some healthy risks? At the same time, the sun in Cancer reminds us that independence doesn't exist in isolation. Cancer's concerned with home, family, emotional security, and protecting the ones we love. So on a collective level, it brings up stories around national identity, patriotism, borders. At the full moon in Capricorn, Paraguay beat Germany, and their president declared it a national holiday, a symbol of pride, as Jupiter went into Leo. So we will be seeing more and more of stories of national pride. The last quarter moon asks us to find a healthy balance between Aries' drive for individual freedom and Cancer's desire for safety, security, and connection. You can think about, how do we honor our own paths while also caring for the people and communities we love? In terms of the moon phase family, the new moon that seeded this 27-month cycle was on April 8th, 2024, and that was a solar eclipse at 19 degrees of Aries conjunct Chiron, the wounded healer. So think back to that time. Was anything seeded in your life? At the first quarter moon, the sun was in Capricorn and the moon was in Aries on January 6, 2025 at 16 degrees of the signs. The full moon, the sun in Libra, the moon in Aries, October 6, 2025 at 14 degrees of each of the signs. And this one jumped out at me because the Accurate Energetic Systems facility located in Tennessee, there was a catastrophic explosion on October 10th of 2025 that destroyed part of the facility, killed 16 workers and injured several others. And it catches my eye because there's a conspiracy theories about that plant manufactured something related to Charlie Kirk's death. So notice if you hear any stories about either of those two things. And on the last quarter moon, July 7th, the sun in Cancer, the moon in Aries, both at 15 degrees of their respective signs. So notice if there's a story that comes to some kind of conclusion in your life. The last thing I want to make you aware of is that Venus is entering Virgo from July 9th through August 6th. Venus is the planet of love, relationships, beauty, pleasure, money, and values. Virgo is the sign of her fall. This does not mean it's a bad transit. It simply means Venus has to express herself differently here than she does in signs where she's more comfortable, like her home signs of Taurus and Libra. Or even in Leo, where she spent the last few weeks basking in the spotlight. Virgo is mutable earth. It's practical, discerning, efficient, and concerned with improving things. So love becomes an act of service rather than romantic gestures. So if Venus and Leo wanted a dozen roses and the dramatic declarations of love, Venus and Virgo might show affection by making you dinner, organizing your life, fixing something that's broken, or remembering the little details that make your life easier. The challenge here is that these different love languages don't recognize each other always. One person may want to feel celebrated while the other believes they're showing love through practical care. One of my favorite symbols for Venus in Virgo is the Nine of Pentacles in this tarot, which is associated with this planet in this sign. And just the image of the independent woman who's cultivated her own garden and enjoys the fruits of her labor. She's self-sufficient, capable, and doesn't need someone else to complete her. That fits Virgo beautifully because the sign is represented by the maiden, an independent figure rather than someone defined through partnership. Venus here asks us to know our worth through what we've cultivated within ourselves, not external validation. I also think about this shift as Venus moves through from 29 Leo into 0 Virgo, like a scene from a high school movie. Venus at the end of Leo is the popular girl who lights up every room she walks into. Everyone notices her. Then Venus crosses into Virgo and suddenly the spotlight fades. Maybe you see her without the performance or makeup or the carefully curated image. You see the real person underneath. Because Virgo's so discerning, we also have to be mindful of a tendency towards criticism. Venus in Virgo knows how things can be improved, but if we're not careful, this can become fault-finding in our relationships or with ourselves. Instead of appreciating what's working, we can become overly focused on what's not perfect. Venus rules money and values, and Virgo's associated with accounting, budgets, analysis. So there could be market adjustments, conversations about spending, or people just in general becoming more practical with their finances or getting back to basics. Notice if you see advertisements for back to basics. And also because we're expecting an exceptionally hot and difficult summer due to the weather, this transit could reflect people dealing with the practical realities of life. Vacations may not live up to expectations because of extreme heat, travel disruptions, or other earthly inconvenience. This week's theme is inspired by the 1991 film Dogfight, starring River Phoenix and Lily Taylor. The story follows a young Marine who invites a shy waitress on a date as part of a cruel contest among his fellow Marines. The women have no idea they're being judged, and Rose, played by Lily Taylor, initially believes she's been noticed and appreciated. When she discovers the truth, the glamour and illusion disappear, forcing both characters to confront uncomfortable truths about appearance, worth, compassion, and authenticity. What begins as deception ultimately becomes a story of empathy, self-awareness, and genuine human connection. This film beautifully mirrors the astrology as Venus leaves the dazzling stage of 29 Leo and enters 0 Virgo. The focus shifts from admiration, attention, and appearance to authenticity, discernment, and what lies beneath the surface. This is a week for seeing people, relationships, and even ourselves more clearly, recognizing that the true value isn't found in performance or popularity, but in character, kindness, and sincerity. This podcast is supported by tools and practices I use myself. One of those is Solar Fire software. Whether you're an astrology hobbyist just exploring charts, an enthusiastic student, or you have a full professional practice, Solar Fire is such a powerful companion. It doesn't just store charts, it animates them. You can move forward or backward in time and watch transits, progressions, and timing techniques unfold in real motion. I customize chart layouts, keep my client notes organized, and run reports I use all the time. It's deep enough for advanced work, but still approachable when you're learning. You can use my code Celeste15 for 15% off at alabe.com. On Sunday, the word of the day is escalation. Mars in Gemini is trine Pluto retrograde in Aquarius. They're both at 4 degrees. Mars activates and Pluto, its higher octave, magnifies. Gemini spreads information and Aquarius distributes it through networks and the collective. So this energy can be seen from anything from rhetoric escalating to protests, markets, storms, or military developments. This is a great energy for a sports champion or some kind of sporting event to do something that really wows the crowd. But in a protest situation, people can really get forceful and demand their rights or what they are wanting. On Monday, the word of the day is extreme. And it could be extreme emotional responses, pressure on or heat. As the Cancer Sun squares Saturn and Aries, they're both at 14 degrees. Sun square Saturn is a tense aspect where you may feel limited, faced with boundaries or restrictions. There can also be feelings of failure or a leader looking like a failure. The moon enters Aries at 8:06 a.m. Pacific time. Aries moons are times to get moving. It's a cardinal fire sign. What can you do to get some exercise is a great thing to do. Be mindful about your reactivity because this sign can be a little impulsive. Can you think about what new thing do you want to pioneer if you weren't going to let fear hold you back? The moon will meet Neptune at 4 Aries, and maybe something that was deceptive becomes clear, or an illusion, you break through to the other side and get an understanding of what reality really is. On Tuesday, the word of the day is martyr. Neptune stations retrograde at 3:54 a.m. Pacific time, bringing themes of sacrifice, victims, compassion, dissolution. Be really mindful of your surroundings on this day. The moon meets Saturn, so this could be a lot of people facing a difficulty at 14 degrees of Aries. And we have the last quarter moon at 15 degrees of Aries. This energy is very explosive. On Wednesday, the word of the day is overdrawn. The Aries moon squares Mercury retrograde in Cancer. Is there some kind of secret that's been revealed is what I want to know. The Taurus moon begins at 1:30 p.m. Pacific time. This is a big energetic shift where Taurus is a fixed earth, practical and grounded, and the moon meets Chiron for the first time at 0 degrees of Taurus. So what are we becoming aware of? That's a wounding around resources, health or wealth, monetary issues could be coming up. And then the Taurus moon squares Jupiter in Leo on one side at 1 degree and Pluto in Aquarius on the other side at 4 degrees. So there's something being revealed around potentially someone who is elite, and secrets regarding power dynamics are being revealed. On Thursday, the word of the day is frugal. Venus enters Virgo at 10:21 a.m. Pacific time, and it also is in a trine with Chiron at 0 degrees of Taurus. This brings themes of being aware of resource limitations. Austerity measures could make news. On Friday, the word of the day is humble. Venus meets the South Node at 0 degrees of Virgo, and Chiron in Taurus is also trying the South Node on this day. This really feels like a monetary story. The South Node makes a big sucking sound. Something's being drained. So notice what we're hearing around market news. There could also be a big story about a person who is a Venus and Virgo type who maybe announces they have an illness. The Gemini Moon starts at 3:41 p.m. Pacific time. Gemini is a mutable air sign. It communicates, connects. It rules transportation, siblings. It's a sign of the twins. And then the Gemini Moon will square the nodes. So this is choice point energy. And Gemini wants all the facts. The South Node in Virgo, let's be discerning. So there's going to be a choice point. What is true, what is not true, and it really calls for us to be discerning. And the Gemini Moon squares Venus in Virgo at 1 degree. So you may be critiquing yourself or someone else's appearance. The Balsamic Moon begins at 3 Gemini. The Balsamic Moon is the last 3.5 days before the new moon. And the moon is going to meet Uranus. So this could be people just having just an incredible fun time at a party, but there might not be many snacks at that party with Venus and Virgo and it leading the South Node, or you get to the party late and you miss all the snacks because they're all eaten. So just notice how this theme shows up. Balsamic moons are emptying out the light, and the South Node makes a bit of a sucking sound, and Venus in Virgo suggests that they're themes of frugality. On Saturday, the word of the day is bullseye. The moon meets Mars in Gemini at 9 degrees, and this is conjunct a fixed star Aldebaran, which is a star associated with integrity. It's in the eye of the bull in the constellation. Notice if you see anyone with an eye patch on or a black eye or something like that, or doing something where they're hitting a bullseye. If you put attention and focus into something, you could have like a quick success. Like if you do Wordle or something like that. Gemini is the mutable air sign and has to do with logic. Maybe you think through the solution quickly. We may also see really exciting plays at the World Cup that get a lot of attention. So that's it for this week's episode. Feel free to email me at celeste@astrologybyceleste.com with any astrology and action stories, or let me know how the daily themes are playing out for you. Take care, and I'll catch you next week. Thank you for listening to Celestial Insights. To learn more about my work, please visit my website, astrologybyceleste.com, where I offer personal readings, horary consultations, cosmic coaching, group events, and classes to help guide people to higher levels of fulfillment. You can also find me on Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, and Facebook at Astrology by Celeste. If you enjoyed Celestial Insights, please help others find the show. Follow, rate it 5 stars, or write a nice review. I would so appreciate it. I'm astrologer, coach, and intuitive Celeste Brooks, and I'll be back next week.